Let me ask you something and be honest with yourself when you answer it, because nobody else is listening. Have you noticed it in your feet yet? That faint little tingling in your toes some evenings? The pins and needles when you have been sitting a while? The way one part of your foot has gone just slightly numb, like it is wearing a sock that is not really there? Maybe it wakes you a little at night, a burning, a prickling, and you shift your foot to the cool side of the sheet and you tell yourself it is nothing. You slept on it funny. The shoes were too tight today. It is just the years. And I understand exactly why you say that. I do, because that is what all of us do with our feet. Our feet are the farthest thing from our eyes, the part of the body we pay the least attention to, the part we stuff into shoes in the morning and forget about until something aches. So when the toes start to tingle, or go numb, or burn quietly at night, it is the easiest thing in the world to wave it away. But I am going to tell you something today that very few people ever get told in time, and it is this: that tingling in your feet, that numbness, that strange burning that comes at night, for an enormous number of people, it is the very first sign, sometimes the only sign, that something has gone wrong with their blood sugar. Not their feet, their blood sugar. The feet are just where the body chose to whisper it first. I am Dr. Bauer, and before we go any further, I want to give you something because I have spent the better part of a year putting it together for exactly the person watching this. It is called the Complete After 60 Health Guide, and it is the plain English manual I wish I could have handed every patient who ever sat across from me feeling confused and rushed and unheard. I will tell you more about it as we go, and you will see a small square code appear on your screen now and then, a QR code, that you can simply point your phone camera at to find it. I will mention it just a few times, only where it truly fits, and then I will get right back to your feet, because your feet are why you are here. So let me tell you about a woman I am going to call Margaret, because once you have met Margaret, I think a great many of you are going to recognize something of yourselves in her. Margaret was 69, a retired school teacher, the sort of woman who had spent 40 years on her feet in front of a classroom and never once complained about it. She raised 3 children, buried a husband, and still hosted every holiday at her house because, in her words, who else was going to do it properly? Margaret was the strong one, the one everybody else leaned on. And Margaret had started to notice quietly that her feet did not feel quite right. It began so small that she almost did not register it. A little numbness in the toes of her right foot, mostly in the evenings when she finally sat down with her tea. Then a tingling, that pins and needles feeling, the kind you get when a foot falls asleep, except hers was not waking back up the way it should. And then, some nights, a faint burning across the ball of her foot that made her kick the blanket off just on that side. She did what Margaret always did. She decided it was nothing worth bothering anyone about. New shoes, she thought, standing too long at the stove, just one more little gift of getting older, like the reading glasses and the bad knee and the names that take a second longer to arrive than they used to. And so she did the one thing, the single most natural and most human thing, that let the real cause keep growing in the dark. She said nothing, and she waited. Now here is what Margaret did not know, and what I would bet a great many of you do not know either, because nobody ever sits us down and explains it. The nerves in your feet are the longest nerves in your entire body. They run all the way from the base of your spine down to the very tips of your toes. And that length, that long, lonely journey, is exactly what makes them the most fragile, the most vulnerable, the first to suffer when something in the bloodstream starts to go wrong. And one of the things that damages those long nerves, slowly, quietly, years before anything else gives it away, is blood sugar that is crept too high. High blood sugar is hard on the small blood vessels that feed those nerves, and it interferes with the way the nerves carry their signals, and the feet, being farthest from the heart and fed by the longest lines, are where that damage shows up first. Doctors have a name for it. They call it peripheral neuropathy. And the reason it is so cruel, the reason it slips past so many good people, is that it arrives wearing the most ordinary disguise there is. It feels like tired feet. It feels like old age. It feels like nothing at all worth a phone call. And let me tell you the part that I find almost impossible to accept, even after all these years. For a huge number of people, this tingling in the feet is not a late sign of diabetes that everyone already knew about. It is the first sign, it is the body's opening announcement, There are people walking around right now, millions of them, who do not yet know their blood sugar is high, who have never been told, who have no idea anything is wrong, and the only messenger their body has managed to send is a quiet tingling in their toes at night that they keep explaining away. The feet knew before the doctor did. The feet knew before they did. So let me put some real numbers on this, because I never want you taking my word alone for something this important, and the numbers here will stop you in your tracks. Right now, by the best counts we have, more than 40 million Americans are living with diabetes, and of those, around 11 million of them do not know they have it. 11 million people walking around unaware, and it climbs steeply with age, so listen closely if you are over 65, because among people 65 and older, nearly 1 in 3 is living with diabetes. Nearly 1 in 3. Look around the next room you walk into and count off 3 people, and the odds are heavy that one of them is carrying this, whether they know it yet or not. But I have not even gotten to the figure that truly keeps me up at night. Before full diabetes, there is a stage called pre-diabetes, where the blood sugar has climbed higher than it should be, but has not yet crossed the final line. And the number of Americans living in that stage right now is over 115 million. More than 1 in 3 adults. And here is the part that should make every single one of us sit up. Of all those millions with prediabetes, around 8 out of every 10 of them have no idea. 8 out of 10. They feel fine, or they feel a little tingling in the feet that they have decided is nothing, and the clock is quietly ticking the whole time. And among people over 65, more than half are sitting in that pre-diabetes range, more than half of everyone your age. This is not a rare disease hiding in a textbook. This is the most common quiet emergency in the country, and it is whispering to a great many of you through the soles of your own feet. Now, I have to stop here and be completely honest with you, the way I promised you I always will be, because this is exactly the point where the fake doctors and the bottle sellers start to lie, and I will not join them. Not every tingling foot is diabetes. I need you to hear that clearly, so you do not spend tonight in a panic. Tingling and numbness in the feet can come from other things entirely. It can come from a pinched nerve in your back. It can come from certain vitamin shortages, a low B12 in particular. It can come from some medications, from a thyroid that is running slow, from too much alcohol over too many years, from simple wear and tear. So a tingling foot is not a diagnosis, and it is not a sentence. What it is a question. A question your body is asking that deserves a real answer instead of a shrug. And the good news, the genuinely hopeful news that almost nobody bothers to tell you, is this. When this is caught early, in that pre-diabetes window, before the nerve damage becomes permanent, it can often be turned around. I want to say that again slowly because it matters so much. Caught early enough, both the high blood sugar and even some of those early foot symptoms can sometimes be improved, sometimes reversed, before the damage sets in for good. The research is clear that modest changes, a little weight come off, a bit more walking, can cut the chance of pre-diabetes turning into full diabetes roughly in half. In half. There is a door here, and it is open, but it does not stay open forever. And the tingling in your feet is the sound of someone knocking on it. This right here is exactly why I built the health guide and why I keep pointing you toward that little code on your screen. Because the single hardest thing for most people is not the willpower. It is knowing what is actually a warning worth acting on and what is just the ordinary noise of a body getting older. So in the guide, I give you something I call the 3-bucket system, and it is the simplest tool I know for taking a frightening symptom and putting it in its proper place. Every symptom you ever notice goes into one of just 3 buckets. The first bucket is pick up the phone right now, and that is for the true emergencies, the stroke signs, the heart signs, the things that do not wait. The second bucket is get this looked at soon, and that is for the things like a new numbness that will not go away, a sore that will not heal, the things that need an appointment but not an ambulance. And the third bucket is probably just the years, the ordinary aches you can note and watch without fear. That tingling in your feet, for most of you, belongs squarely in that second bucket, the get it looked at soon bucket, and the guide walks you through exactly how to tell. If you want that system in your hands and a printable card of it for your refrigerator, point your phone at the code on the screen. And I will say this once, plainly, because it is true. The founding price I am holding it at right now is only good for the first wave of readers, And once that first group is through the door, it goes up, so it is worth a look while it lasts. Now back to your feet, because I promised you the warning signs, and there are 4 of them I need you to know. The first sign is the one you already know, because you may have felt it tonight. It is the tingling and the numbness, that pins and needles feeling, most often starting in the toes and the balls of the feet, and most often worse at night when everything else has gone quiet and your body finally has your attention. The thing that makes this one worth noticing is that it tends to come on both feet at once, fairly evenly, creeping in slowly over months rather than arriving in one foot overnight. If it is both feet, if it is slow, if it favors the night, that is the pattern that makes a doctor think about the blood sugar. The second sign is a strange and frightening one, and it is the loss of feeling. Not pain, but the absence of it. As these long nerves get more worn, the foot can start to go quiet, to lose its sense of temperature, its sense of touch, its ability to feel a small hurt. And this is dangerous in a way that surprises people, because a foot that cannot feel is a foot that cannot warn you. You might step on a small tack in the kitchen and not know it. You might draw a bath too hot and not feel it on your foot. You might develop a blister inside a shoe and walk on it all day, never feeling it rubbing raw. The danger is not the numbness itself, it is everything the numbness quietly lets happen without your knowledge. Margaret told me later that this was the part that frightened her most when she finally understood it. Not the tingling, but the thought that her own feet had been slowly going silent on her, that the body's oldest alarm system, the one that had kept her safe for 69 years, had been quietly switching itself off one nerve at a time, and she had very nearly let it. That is the thing about this disease. It does not just hurt you, it takes away your ability to know you are being hurt. And that is exactly why it has to be caught with a test, with a number, and not left to whatever you can still feel, because what you can feel is the very thing it comes for. The third sign follows directly from the second, and it is the cut or the blister or the sore on the foot that simply will not heal. We talked about this once before, you and I, in another context, but here it carries a particular weight, because high blood sugar slows healing to a crawl and starves the feet of good circulation at the very same time. So a small sore that should close in a week sits open for a month, and on a foot that has also gone numb, it can grow serious before the person even realizes it is there. A wound on the foot that will not heal is never a wait and see. It goes in that second bucket, the call and be seen soon bucket, every single time. The fourth sign is the quietest of them all, and it is the one that almost nobody connects to blood sugar, so you may be the first in your family ever to know it. It is a change in the look of your feet and lower legs. The skin can grow dry and crack in a way it never used to. The hair on the toes and the tops of the feet can thin out and disappear. The feet can take on a different color, paler, or with a faint reddish or bluish cast, and they can feel cool to the touch. These are the marks of feet that are slowly being shortchanged on circulation and on healthy nerves both, and each one on its own seems far too small to mention. Together they are a story your feet are telling, if only someone knows how to read it. So there they are, the 4 signs: the tingling and numbness that favors the night, the loss of feeling that steals your warning system, the sore that will not heal, and the quiet changes in the skin and the hair and the color. Not one of them on its own is a verdict, but when you see them gathering, especially if you are over 60, especially if diabetes runs in your family, especially if you carry a little extra weight around the middle, then they stop being 4 separate small complaints and they become one clear question that your body is asking you to finally answer. And the question has an answer, a simple one, a painless one, and it is waiting for you in the second half of what I want to tell you. Because knowing the signs is only ever half the battle. The half that changes your life, the half that gave Margaret her answer and opened that door while it was still open, is knowing exactly what to do next. The single test to ask for, by name, so that nobody can wave you off. The precise words to say in that rushed appointment, and the handful of changes that the research says can swing this back in your favor while there is still time. That is everything that comes next. So whatever you do, do not walk away now, because I am about to give you the most important part. Let me take you back to Margaret, because we left her in a hard place, telling herself it was just new shoes and tired feet, saying nothing, waiting. What finally changed Margaret's story was not a miracle, and it was not an expensive specialist, and it was not some supplement she saw advertised between the evening programs. It was her daughter. Her daughter was visiting one evening, and she watched her mother reach down and rub that one foot the way she had started doing without even noticing, and she asked about it. And Margaret, for once, told the truth instead of brushing it off. And her daughter said the words that I wish someone said in every living room in this country. She said, "Mom, that is worth asking the doctor about." And she did one better. She told her mother exactly what to ask for. So let me give you that same thing right now, the same words, so that you never have to sit in that office wondering how to even begin. Here is what you do. You go to your appointment, and before the whole thing gets away from you, before the hand is on the door and your real worry is still sitting unspoken in your chest, you say these plain words. You say, "I have been getting tingling and numbness in my feet, especially at night, and I would like to have my blood sugar checked with an A1C test." That is it. That is the whole key. The A1C. Say it out loud. Those three sounds, A1C, and write it down somewhere right now, in your phone, on the back of an envelope, tucked in your wallet. Because a specific test asked for by its name is a thing that does not get brushed aside. Now let me tell you what that test actually is, because the name sounds far more complicated than the thing itself, and I never want a bit of medical alphabet to be the reason somebody stays scared and stays silent. The A1C is one of the simplest blood tests there is. It is a single small draw of blood from your arm, the ordinary kind you have had 100 times. But here is the clever part, the part that makes it so powerful. Most blood sugar tests only tell you the number at that one moment, which can swing around depending on what you ate that morning. The A1C does something better. It tells your doctor your average blood sugar over the last 2 to 3 months. It is not a snapshot, it is the whole season. It cannot be fooled by skipping breakfast. It tells the honest, long story of what your blood sugar has truly been doing while you were not looking. And from that one small vial, your doctor can tell you whether you are in the normal range, in that pre-diabetes window where the door is still open, or whether you have crossed into diabetes and it is time to act in earnest. And here is why I get almost emotional about a test as humble as a single draw of blood, because that number does not just speak about your feet. High blood sugar, left to run for years, quietly damages the small vessels everywhere, in your eyes, in your kidneys, in your heart, in your brain. So the tingling in your feet was never really only about your feet. It was the first messenger from a problem that touches the whole body, and the A1C is how you finally read the message. The cheapest, simplest test in the building, one small vial, is quietly reading the future of your eyes and your kidneys and your heart all at once. And a warning caught here, in the feet, in that pre-diabetes window, is a chance to protect every one of those things years before any emergency arrives. And I want you to feel the full weight of what that means, because we are all so trained to hear a thing like this as bad news. A warning sign in your feet is not the disaster. The warning sign is the gift. It is your one chance to act while the door is still open, while modest changes can still cut your risk roughly in half, while the story can still go a completely different way. That is not fear. That is the opposite of fear. That is time handed back into your own two hands, while you can still spend it on the people and the things you love. So few frightening things in this life knock first. This one knocks. It knocks on the soles of your feet and asks you politely to please pay attention while there is still so much that can be done. Now this is the moment where I have to be the careful and honest doctor I promised you I would be, because once that test comes back, you are going to want to know what to actually do about it, and there is a great deal of nonsense out there waiting to take your money. So let me give you the part that is true. If your number lands in that pre-diabetes range, the research could not be clearer about what helps, and none of it is a miracle, and none of it is for sale in a bottle. It is movement, the plain, ordinary walking we talked about being good for so much, because muscles that move pull sugar straight out of the blood. They burn it as fuel. And a body that walks most days is a body that is forever lowering its own sugar without a single pill. It is losing even a small amount of weight. Just 5 or 7 pounds out of a heavier frame can move the needle far more than people believe, because it is not about looking different in the mirror. It is about how much easier the body handles its sugar when it is carrying a little less. It is the food on your plate, fewer of the things that spike the sugar hard and fast, the white bread, the sweet drinks, the things that send it up like a rocket, and more of the things that steady it, the vegetables, the proteins, the fibers that slow the whole thing down. And it is staying in honest conversation with your doctor who can watch that number over the months and tell you plainly whether your changes are working, so you are never guessing in the dark. Put those together, and for an enormous number of people, that door stays open. The slide into full diabetes simply never happens. It gets quietly written out of their future, and they go on, walking, hosting, living, for years longer than they ever feared, never knowing how close they came. And this is exactly why I made the health guide and why you have seen that little code on your screen, because I know that everything I just said, eat better, move more, ask your doctor, is the kind of vague advice that helps almost nobody when it is left that thin. So in the guide, I do not leave it thin. There is a whole plain English section on reading your own numbers, your A1C, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, so that a lab result never again sends your whole evening down a worried hole, because you will know exactly which row is yours and what it means. There is the appointment toolkit with the exact sentences that get a rush doctor to slow down and actually listen, the very words Margaret's daughter knew and most people never get told. And there is the eating after 60 section, the real swaps the research supports, no fad diets, no nonsense. It is built to be a book you do, not just a book you read, with printable cards for your refrigerator. If that is something you want, point your phone at the code on the screen and have a look while the founding price is still there. Because as I told you, that first wave price does not last. And once the early readers are through, it goes up. Now I want to give you something practical for that appointment, because I have watched too many good people walk in with the best intentions and walk right back out having said nothing. And I will not let that be you. So picture it before you ever get there. You are in the chair, the paper crinkling under you, the doctor kind but already half reaching for the door, already thinking of the next room. This is the exact moment people lose their nerve. The moment the real worry gets swallowed and what comes out instead is, "Oh, everything is fine, thank you." So you are going to do it differently. You are going to lead with the tingling, the numbness, the night, and then you are going to say the name of the test out loud, the A1C. And then, and this is the important part, you are going to stop talking and wait. Let the silence sit there. You have asked a clear, reasonable, specific question using the proper name of a simple test, and a good doctor will meet you right there. You are not being difficult. You are not being a bother, that word so many of us were raised to fear. You are being exactly the kind of patient who catches things in time. And if for any reason you get waved off, if you hear that tired old line, "Oh, that is just getting older," I want you to have one more sentence ready in your back pocket, said gently, with no fight in it, because you can be calm and firm at the very same time. You simply say, "I understand, and I would still feel better having the A1C done, just so we have ruled it out. Just so we have ruled it out." That phrase is a quiet kind of magic, because it is so reasonable that there is very little anyone can say against it. You are not arguing. You are not demanding. You are simply asking to be sure. And being sure is your right. But, and this is the heart of everything I have to tell you, none of it begins until somebody names the sign. Not the test, not the walking, not the years it can hand back to you. None of it can start until one person finally points and says the words out loud. And for far too many good people, the only one who ever does is a stranger on a screen, months or years too late, long after the tingling first started, long after the door had quietly begun to close. I have sat across from that person more times than I can bear to count. The one who says, quietly, almost ashamed, "I felt it. I knew something was wrong, but nobody ever told me what it was, and I do not want that to be you. I refuse to let that be you, not after the time we have spent here together. So let this be the moment. Let me be the one who names it for you, plainly, on purpose, so that whatever else fades after today, you carry this much out the door. That tingling in your feet at night, the toes that have gone a little numb, the sore that will not heal, the skin gone dry, the hair that quietly disappeared from your toes, those are not the fine print of getting old. They are not a tax you simply have to pay for the crime of living a long and full life. They are your own body, knocking patiently on the door, hoping with everything it has that this time, finally, somebody answers. And so let me leave you with the one idea I most want you to carry out of this whole conversation. After 60, the point of paying attention to your body is not to live in fear of it. It is the opposite. It is to learn to listen early. While listening still buys you something, while the door is still open and the road ahead is still full of good choices, your feet were never separate from the rest of you. They are the farthest outpost, the longest nerves, the place the body sends its very first quiet word. And if you will only let yourself hear it, that word can be the thing that saves you, years before you would ever have known to be afraid. So if your feet have been tingling at night, if a toe has gone a little numb, if you have caught yourself rubbing one foot without quite knowing why, then please hear me. That is not a character flaw, and it is not just the calendar catching up with you. That is worth one small blood test and one honest conversation. Not panic, never panic. Just a question, asked out loud, in your own voice by you. The A1C. You can carry that name in your pocket like a small key, because that is exactly what it is. Margaret carried it. She said the words in that office, the same words I just gave you, and the test came back showing her blood sugar had crept up into that prediabetes range. The door still open, just barely, but open. And she walked a little farther each week, the way her doctor asked. She changed a few things on her plate, nothing dramatic, nothing joyless, and the last I knew of Margaret, her numbers had come back down out of that danger range, the tingling in her feet had quieted, and she was still hosting every holiday at her house, because, in her words, who else was going to do it properly? Not because of a miracle, because one person, her daughter, took 2 minutes to point at her foot and tell her the truth, and because Margaret was brave enough to finally ask the question. That question is yours now. That same key. Use it. Say it at your next appointment, or pick up the phone this week and make the appointment if there is not one on the calendar, and do not let anyone, however kind, however rushed, wave you off with, "Oh, you are just getting older," because you know better now. You have known better since the start of this. You are the sharp, capable adult I have been speaking to this entire time, and you are entitled to ask for the simple test that reads the most important number you are not yet watching. Thank you for staying with me through all of this, truly, because it tells me you take yourself and the years still ahead of you seriously, and that is the whole battle. If any part of this helped you finally see something you had been quietly explaining away, then do one last thing. Share it with the one person whose face came into your mind while you were listening, because there is a very good chance their feet have been whispering to them too, and your sharing this might be the 2 minutes nobody has ever given them. And if you want the whole system in your hands, the 3 buckets, the words for your doctor, your numbers in plain English, all of it, the code is on your screen one last time, and the founding price is still holding, for now. In the next conversation, I am going to show you the warning signs that can show up in your eyes, the ones a good doctor can spot in seconds, and most people miss for years. Until then, take a good look at your feet tonight, listen to what they are telling you, and be well. I will see you in the next one.